Nederlandstalige boeken uitgeven. Daar heb ik toch geen Engelstalig platform voor nodig? Welkom bij de Schrijven en Uitgeven podcast met auteur en fantasy schrijfcoach Petra van der Ploeg.
En schrijver en self-publishing expert Maria Staal.
2 keer per maand brengen we je informatie en inspiratie over schrijven,
uitgeefopties en marketingideeën voor jouw boek. Luister je mee?
Hallo, ik ben Petra van der Ploeg en het is vrijdag 26 juli 2022. Deze aflevering is nummer 29 van de podcast, waarin we niet met z'n tweeën, maar met z'n drieën zijn. Maria en ik hebben namelijk een interview met Mark Leslie Lefebvre, directeur Business Development van het zelfuitgeefplatform Draft2Digital. We hebben het met Mark over het uitgeven van e-books en papieren boeken via D2D en welke voordelen dit heeft voor Nederlandstalige schrijvers. Ook praten we over de fusie die eerder dit jaar plaatsvond tussen Smashwords en Draft2Digital en waarom dit goed nieuws is voor selfpubbers wereldwijd. Ons interview met Mark is in het Engels. Mocht de taal een uitdaging voor je zijn, dan kun je op onze website schrijvenenuitgeven.nl het volledige gesprek meelezen. Veel luisterplezier!
Goedemiddag, Petra.
Hallo Maria.
Ja. We zitten weer bij elkaar en wat is een bijzondere aflevering.
Ja.
Want we zijn bezig in Zoom. Want we zijn niet met z'n tweeën, maar met z'n drieën, zoals we al in de introductie ook al zeiden. Want we zitten met iemand van de andere kant van de wereld.
Ja. Wie is dat dan?
Ja, dat is Mark Leslie Lefebvre van Draft2Digital.
Ja.
En die gaan we interviewen over wat Draft2Digital allemaal doet.
Oké.
Want afgelopen juni waren wij bij 20 Books Holland. En daar zijn we iemand anders van Draft2Digital tegengekomen, Dan Wood. En die bood ons spontaan aan om een uitzending, in onze uitzending te komen.
Ja.
Dus hebben we gezegd, ja, maar goed, helaas kan hij niet. Maar goed, hij heeft Mark Leslie geregeld.
Ja.
En die gaat dus een aantal vragen voor ons beantwoorden.
Ik ben heel benieuwd.
Ik ook,
Ja.
ja. Even kijken, het gesprek met Mark is in het Engels. Dat is op zich moet het denk ik geen probleem zijn. We gaan in elk geval ook niet de vertaling, maar de Engelstalige transcript komt er ook bij. We moeten wel denk ik nog even zeggen dat, misschien dat niet alle onze luisteraars het weten, is dat als wij Indisch noemen in het gesprek, dat we dan zelfpubbers bedoelen.
Indisch zijn selfpubbers, maar dat is de Engelse vertaling van selfpubbers.
Ja, precies. Ik denk dat even duidelijk is. Nou, dan gaan we nou over in het Engels.
Oké.
Ja, hartstikke goed.
Let's go.
Ja. Hey Mark, how are you?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to talk to you guys.
Excellent. Yeah, that's great. We are very happy to have you on our podcast. You are well known in the English-speaking world, self-publishing world, but our Dutch listeners might not be as familiar with your name. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and your role at Draft2Digital?
Sure. So my name is Mark Leslie Lefebvre, and I have been in the book industry. I'm a Canadian, so I'm just north of the US where Draft2Digital is headquartered. And I have worked in the industry since 1992 through the book industry as a bookseller. I worked within publishing, and 1992 was also the year I sold my very first short story as a writer after years of rejections. And I have traditionally published and self-published, and I self-published my very first book in 2004. So not only do I work with Draft2Digital to help authors with their writing career and making choices, but I'm in the trenches too, so I can understand it from the inside out. Previous to Draft2Digital, I'm currently the Director of Business Development here. Previous to Draft2Digital, I worked at Kobo, which is a Canadian company, well, Japanese owned by Rakuten, but in Canada, and with an office in the Netherlands as well. And I worked there for 6 years where I helped create and launch Kobo Writing Life, the self-publishing platform there. So I've been in the industry for a long time, and I was so excited for the opportunity to go to Draft2Digital and take that to the next level, to go to Draft2Digital. So it wasn't just, I love Kobo, I actually read on a Kobo device, and but I wanted to help authors everywhere, not just at one retailer, but at many, many retailers. And what I love about Draft2Digital, so draft2digital.com is a great platform that allows authors free service to be able to convert their book into ebook or print for self-publishing and distribution. So distribution to all the major retailers and a whole bunch of library systems around the world, as well as print in partnership with Ingram to get Ingram being world's largest English language wholesaler of books. And basically, the way it works in a nutshell is Draft2Digital does not charge any fees up front. What we do is we hang on to what becomes 10% of the margin. So instead of, if you were to publish directly, for example, to Kobo, you would make 70%. But if you do it through Draft2Digital, you make 60%. So we're there as an option, as a choice. We even have the free conversion tool. So you could come to Draft2Digital, convert your Word document into an EPUB, and then take the EPUB and go and publish it directly or sell it directly, whatever you want. So we try really, really hard to make sure authors maintain choice, option, and control so they can make the best decisions for their own unique author journey.
Yeah. I think that's really great because at the moment, many Dutch indies, they do use Kobo Writing Live for publishing the ebooks. But I don't think many actually are using Draft2Digital yet. So I think it's really great to have more options.
Yeah, of course, because when you get your books into Kobo, obviously you get your books into both Kobo in the Netherlands and Bol. And I'm sure your listeners are very familiar with Bol. Most North Americans are not as familiar with how huge a presence Bol is in the Netherlands market. And so that would make sense for authors in the Netherlands to know about Kobo and Bol, but what about beyond? What about getting into other European countries? What about other continents as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's also one of my questions I had, because the people who are listening to this podcast, they are Dutch speaking. They usually write in Dutch, and they a lot of the times they make the connection. Okay, this is an English platform. I write in Dutch, so why should I use that English platform for my Dutch books? What would you say to those people? Why would people need to use Draft2Digital?
Yeah, that is a great question, and I'm glad you asked. So I think the one potential drawback is our customer service staff, which are amazing. You can get them on the phone, although it would be expensive calling from the Netherlands. Get them on the phone. Email is they're English speaking. So the customer service would potentially be the one hook or the one challenge. But we're a global ebook distributor, and we distribute books in all languages, including we actually have quite a few Dutch language books, whether they're native Dutch or they're English authors who are savvy and understand just how powerful reading is in the Netherlands. It's a huge part of the culture. So, there are a lot of people who've translated books into Dutch. So we get our English and Dutch language books to retailers and library platforms. Obviously, we are one of the largest suppliers of titles to Kobo, and you're familiar obviously with Kobo and their partnership with Bol, but also to Kobo Plus, which I think is a great program. And Kobo Plus, obviously inspired by a desire from the good folks at Bol, who wanted to offer something special and unique to the readers, the ability to kind of read all you can without, and again, from the indie author perspective, unlike what Amazon requires, which is exclusivity. One of the things we love about the Kobo program is it's another way for people to read books in a different way, a different model for reading, where authors can make money, but you don't have to be exclusive. And so that launched initially in the Netherlands and Belgium before they realized, and Kobo I think they've expanded into 8 different territories now because they recognized people like to read differently. So now we also operate the Smashwords store, because Smashwords and Draft2Digital merged back in March of this year. And the Smashwords store serves more countries in the world than Amazon does. So there are a lot of authors have been using Smashwords to get into European countries that Amazon doesn't have a presence in. And Dutch language books, like all of the languages of books, they can earn through the Smashwords store the highest royalty rates up to 80%. So it's even higher than when you go direct to a retailer, which is kind of cool. And then there's, of course, some great tools. So there's a myriad of promotional tools with the Smashwords store. So ebook marketing, coupons that you can self-generate and give to your consumers so you can kind of control your own promos. We just finished our annual summer sale. And you're the first to know that this sale was even more successful than last year's sale. And this is in an industry this year where we've seen across traditional and self-publishing industry sales just going down versus last year because of the expansion and the pandemic, and people are out doing things with each other rather than reading as much. but still the Smashwords sale was even bigger this year than it was last year. So it was like the biggest it's ever been. And so this is great. So part of being part of the Draft2Digital ecosystem is, again, choice, control, and global and multiple languages.
That's right. Yeah. And you just mentioned the merger with Smashwords, because Smashwords is also a very big name in the self-publishing industry internationally. Do you know what the main reasons were for joining, for merging?
Yeah, so two things. So Mark Coker, the founder of Smashwords, has been in the industry for a long time. I'm fortunate to have known him from the early days when he was, groundbreaking and just doing something that had never been done before. And when you look at what the DNA or the heart and soul of what Draft2Digital was doing, and the heart and soul of what Smashwords were doing, is they were just two companies that really wanted to empower authors and bring them great things. And so our CEO at Draft2Digital, Chris Austin, and Mark Coker, had some chats. We've done some promos together with Smashwords because we're just trying really hard to do what we can to work together to help authors and help our retail partners. They were talking and realizing that, Smashwords was building really cool things for authors, and Draft2Digital was building cool things for authors. But what if we could combine our resources? What if we could use the dev teams to be working on getting the tools out faster? We could then invest more in authors and in tool development, because all we're constantly doing is listening to feedback and developing new tools for authors. I think one of the biggest fears that happen with a merger, when you have big mergers, which happens in publishing all the time, is that they often mean less choice in the marketplace. With authors, oh, these publishers have merged, therefore I have one less place to send my manuscript, for example. But what we're trying to do, we're trying to be very, very conscious about this, because we recognize that, we're two small but powerful teams, and we're still relatively small in terms of size, maybe just over 30 employees in total. And yet we are quite a large company when you think about our reach globally. But what we're trying to do is look at more choices, more opportunities, and again, combining that mission to really empower indie authors. If we have more power and more ability to work and negotiate with our retailers, maybe we can negotiate more space, more promotion opportunities, so that our authors can get access to new tools. So one of the things, for example, recently is, and again, so obviously there's a great partnership that Kobo has with Bol, and we have a partnership with Kobo, but we have Viblio, which is very dominant in France, and we also have access to Tolino, direct access to Tolino in Germany. And so there's a lot of our partners we're trying really, really hard to spotlight. And with Viblio, we've spotlit German and French and English language titles. So even though we are an English American company, we're really trying hard to spotlight titles for our partners to help our authors be more successful.
Yeah. I was very excited to hear about the merger with Smashwords, because I started off on Smashwords originally. So it's I like that idea, and I've been following Mark Coker for a long time. He's one of my gurus, definitely, and it's so it's great. So I think last year, I think Draft2Digital started doing print books instead of only ebooks. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So again, we started off wanting to help authors make ebooks, because back when I started, you had to learn HTML and stuff. So and again, Smashwords had that great ebook converter, so did Draft2Digital. But we now help them produce ebooks, print books, and in a partnership with Findaway Voices, audiobooks. So again, you have your book, we're going to want to help you get it into the digital marketplace. So we're kind of becoming format agnostic, even though we did start with ebooks. So when authors look at our current offering, they see that we've continued to expand and grow. And so D2D print, which is currently in beta, but we're currently expanding the beta, because one of the challenges right now is author copies are being printed in the US and shipping, which is it's a ridiculous cost. But with our partner, there are print facilities in Europe, for example, and on other continents, so that very soon authors who are in Europe, for example, can get their print copies printed locally. So they're coming from a neighboring country, perhaps not on a boat across the ocean. And so we basically have the free tool and the template. So you have your Word document. We'll make a free conversion for you into print. You can pick the different templates so it actually looks lovely like a print book should. But then we also have, for authors who have not yet paid to invest in a full cover wrap, maybe they paid a cover designer just for the front cover for, the Kindle version or whatever, or the Bowl version of it. What we do is we take an automatic generator that takes their front cover and we make a back cover for them, and they can customize the spine, they can upload their colophon or their logo or their imprint, author photo, yes or no, and really make a beautiful print book. We currently have trade paperback only, but we will be expanding into hardcover. And again, obviously, our partnership with Findaway allows authors who are looking for audio more choices. Now, we will continue to work with partners. We will continue to see what we can do when an author has a challenge, like what is preventing you from getting the manuscript out? And that was the brilliance of Smashwords. You have a great manuscript. What's preventing it from getting into the hands of readers and you being able to make a living as an author, or at least get that book out there and get some readers? What are the problems authors have, and what can we do with our technology to help remove the barriers for publishing for authors? And that is why we're so excited to continue to expand print. We will be moving into hardcover. We'll be moving into large print. And again, it's just readers will read however they want to read. And I do know, having worked in the industry for a long time, that print, although it's very dominant in Europe, is still very dominant in North America. Most people who read still read print books. Or even when I worked at Kobo, there was a stat we learned, did some studies and found that people who read ebooks bought 3 times as many print books as they used to before they started reading ebooks. So even as ebooks continue to grow, it's not going to take away from print. The Mitch Joel, who is a Canadian digital guru that I admire, he has said, everything is with, not instead of. So when you bring a new technology, you're adding to, you're not taking anything away. And I love that way of looking at our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I love that too.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And you said it's still in beta at the moment. Can everyone join, or how does it work?
Yeah, so if you log into your Draft2Digital account, you're looking at one of your ebooks, there's a little print tab. And if you click on the print tab, it says, please add me to the waiting list. Now, we can bring you into the program. Now, anyone, pretty much anywhere in the world, so authors in the Netherlands can join the beta, and they can make their books available, and the books will be listed on online bookstores around the world through a major wholesaler that we're partnered with. But the only limitation right now is the ability to order author copies. Now, we turned it off because we don't want authors spending more than they have to, because very soon, probably within the next month or so, we will be, right now we're doing beta testing with some authors who are in Europe to say, okay, we're testing to see how long it takes when you place your order, what's the shipping cost going to be, which will be very reasonable as opposed to coming from the US, and how long does it take, so then we can really measure that and our customer service team can understand. So, so Maria, if you were to have ordered a copy, we can find out, it's like, well, you ordered your copy on August 1st and it's August 8th, and typically it takes 5 to 10 business days for it to get there. So it'll probably be there, by the 10th or the 11th or something, most likely. Or if you called and it's the 20th or whatever, or ideally we would know, wait a second, Maria placed an order on the 1st and it's not there. How do we work with our partner to see what happened? Like, did it get misshipped? What happened to it? So that beta will be opening up and the beta is open to everyone, but the author copies is the key thing. And our authors around the world are going to be very excited to be able to order author copies directly from the system, rather than they've been using workarounds like go to Amazon, drop the price quickly, go to Amazon, order it, get the free Prime shipping and stuff like that. We don't want authors to have to do those gymnastics, so that's why we're calling it beta. Even though the books are available and it is growing like you would not believe. Well, you probably would believe, since you guys do understand the significant power of print still.
Absolutely, yeah. But what would you say if to our Dutch listeners who are maybe hesitant to think digitally? I mean, even because many of them are still thinking, okay, I want to have my book in the bookshop. Not the online bookshop, but the literally brick and mortar bookshops. And also in that way, they are maybe traditional in the thinking about marketing and that sort of things. So, of course, the English-speaking world has been, more digitally thinking for 10, 12 years, whatever. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say, as an author myself, my goal is to get my books into as many platforms, as many markets as possible, giving readers as much choice, whether it's ebook, print book, audiobook, and whatever retailers, like, maybe they're a fan of Bowl, maybe they love Bowl, maybe they want to try and order it through an independent bookshop to support a local, small local bookstore. And having your works available in multiple platforms means if a consumer hears about you, they should be able to go get it anyway. They should be able to go to the library and request a copy. As an author myself, I just want, if people want to read my books, I want them to be able to read the books however they can. And so by only focusing on one thing, like I'm only going to look at traditional publishing, or I'm only going to look at being exclusive to the world's largest river, that they're limiting the ability for customers globally to really experience them as an author. I honestly think that in a lot of cases, we saw in March 2020, when COVID hit and everything started to shut down dramatically around the world, publishers scrambled and panicked because their only way or the primary way they sell books is in bookshops, and bookshops were closed. But I could pick up an app on my phone and I could download a book from online from a retailer or from my local library. Because ironically, for the first time, we weren't worried about viruses attached to a digital file. We were worried about viruses attached to a physical. And we've learned better about the way it's transmitted. But when you think about something like that can change the industry in a heartbeat, and recognize that digital availability globally isn't reliant upon physically shipping a dead tree from one spot to another, right? And so I think I just ask authors to have an open mind, and the more your mind is open, the more possibilities will exist for you to really leverage your amazing IP, which is really what we're doing, so that the things you write, the inspiration, the entertainment you share can be enjoyed by more people.
Yeah, totally agree.
It's one of the questions we get that we get asked the most is, how do we get our books visible? And we always say, get it onto as many platforms as possible, and do it in the English way, but also in the Dutch way. So it's not or, it's always and.
It's and.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I have another question for you. I'm curious. Is there one question you never get asked, but you have a brilliant answer to?
Oh, yes, thank you. It's how I do my hair. No, I'm kidding. Pre-orders is one of the ones. So when we look at industry-wide, at least from a North American perspective and our studies, we look at new titles released in any given year in any genre or category, and it's pretty consistent. Only about 15% of those titles were first listed as pre-orders. From indies, obviously. 85% of indie authors fail to take advantage of one of the easiest, most powerful tools, which publishers do recognize and do leverage in an incredible way. So if you're thinking about, because you love traditional publishing, but you're thinking about behaving more like a traditional publisher by planning ahead and making the pre-orders available so people can anticipate your works, because your fans want to know, oh my God, I love this book. When is their next standalone coming out? When is the next book in series? So the small majority of books that first came to market as pre-orders can often generate as much as 50% or more of total sales for new titles released in each category every year. That's a significant number. Why? Well, because pre-orders are one of the most powerful best practices marketing tools. Again, you talked about that availability, right? It's just that availability is there. It's the availability to go, yes, I will put my credit card against this book, knowing I will get it when it comes out, either shipped from print, or it'll show up at 12:01 a.m. local time. Obviously, you guys will get it 6 hours before I'll get it. But pre-orders, so again, it's marketing. And if you've got a new book coming out in the next 12 months, why not list it as a pre-order on all the major retailers, so that when they're looking at the big publisher titles, if you've done your job properly as an indie author, as the publisher, it's a beautiful cover. It's been edited perfectly. It's to market. Everything looks great, but it's also not just available the day before or the day of. It's available 6 to 12 months out in the future. And I really think that can help authors stand out in a crowd where they're going to stand out because there's less competition when it comes to pre-orders.
Yeah. And I think this is also very important for the Dutch people, because here the mindset is really like you have to focus on the first 2 months that the book comes out, and then after the 2 months, well, the book didn't sell right, we go to the next book. That's kind of a bit the mentality here. But if you add the pre-order phase in front of it, that makes it longer for the sale to go on. So that is really a good advice for our Dutch listeners. Yeah.
And the one thing I want to add to that, there's a great used bookstore in Sudbury, Ontario, where I grew up, that actually had a little stamp they put on all their books, a used bookstore. It said, "A book you haven't read is a new book." And so while publishers are focused on those first 2 months, it could be a backlist book that suddenly takes off. And that just warms my heart, meaning we're not going to close the windows, we're going to open up opportunity for authors.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. We're really trying to get authors here more aware of the backlist, the way that your backlist can work for you in the marketing as well. And you never know when your book is going to take off. And because they're so focused on the first, sort of a traditional bestseller model, we call it. And it's a mindset shift, and we are trying to get them more aware of that. Yeah.
Use the books you already published, and you not just focus on the first 2 months of when the book is available, but also a year later, how is it now? Can you promote the book again? So that's what we're trying to focus on as well. Yeah.
See, we're doing this from 2 different continents, right on the 2 sides of the globe, which is fantastic, because we're basically working together independently to help authors open their minds and their hearts to the possibilities.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we're out of questions now. So where can people find you for more information? Where can people find more information about you and about Draft2Digital?
Well, let's focus on Draft2Digital. I write under the name Mark Leslie. If you Google me, you can find me on pretty much any retailer online in different formats. But Draft2Digital, you can find out everything you want to know at Draft2Digital by going to draft2digital.com, and that's draft, the numeral 2, digital.com. We have a great blog with some great content. We have interviews with folks, and I'm so excited that you guys agreed that you're going to be doing our D2D Self-Publishing Insiders Live, so I'm looking forward to sharing that with our community as well. But yeah, draft2digital.com, and you can kind of find out all kinds of things about what we can do through Draft2Digital and Smashwords.
Excellent. Perfect. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for this interview. It was absolutely great talking to you, and we had lots of fun and learned a lot.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We hopen dat je het interview leuk vond. We kunnen veel leren van pioniers als Mark. Als jarenlange zelfpubber heeft hij aan de wieg gestaan van zelfuitgeefplatformen zoals Kobo Writing Live en nu Draft2Digital. We raden aan al je boeken te publiceren via Draft2Digital. Juist door de toevoeging van paperbacks en binnenkort hardcovers aan het uitgeefarsenaal van D2D zijn je boeken op nog meer plekken zichtbaar. De volgende keer gaan we het hebben over je schrijfroutine. Moet je elke dag schrijven? Wat zijn de voor- en nadelen? En hoe creëer je een goede schrijfroutine? Tot de volgende keer. Bedankt voor het luisteren. We hopen dat je het leerzaam vond.
Meer informatie en inspiratie over schrijven, uitgeven en marketing vind je op onze website schrijvenenuitgeven.nl.
Hier vind je ook de show notes en de links naar eerdere afleveringen.
Heb je een vraag of idee voor een volgend onderwerp? Stuur ons dan een berichtje.
We horen graag van je. Tot de volgende keer.